This is our review of the Dell Inspiron 16 Plus laptop. It's still using an 11th gen Intel Core processor since the 12th gen laptops are still nowhere to be found as of now. However, we'll flip the script of this review and share our final verdict of this laptop in the introduction. I think that this is a fantastic laptop that Dell made. There are a few minor quirks here and there, but I think it is still acceptable overall. So let's begin with our review today. Let's start off by talking about the screen of this laptop. That is the main star of the show because, as the name suggests, this laptop uses a massive 16-inch screen. However, the specs of this display are kinda unconventional because on Dell's website it says that this laptop is using a 3K resolution and it's actually 3072 by 1920 pixels. This also means that it's using a 16 by 10 aspect ratio, which I personally prefer, and the maximum refresh rate of this screen here is still at 60Hz and I'm okay with that. And since this screen is such a big highlight, we of course did our color test using our colorimeter too. What we found out is rather interesting as its maximum brightness is around 300 nits and the sRGB color gamut coverage is nearly 100%, which I think is really good. Yet the delta E number is also very low. With such a big screen means that other parts of this laptop needs to be big as well, and that is why we get a full-size laptop keyboard. And I think this is a pretty decent keyboard overall, but the travel distance is a bit too short for my liking, but it's still alright. As for the touchpad though, I am generally fine with it, but the palm rejection is problematic here. Each time I try to type on this laptop, I can see the cursor disco dancing on the screen, and it's just having some sort of dead zone whereby I cannot move the cursor just a little bit because the dead zone area is a bit too large. I think this is mostly down to software and Dell really needs to push up an update or something like that just to fix all of these issues. It's just that the trackpad experience feels unrefined. But what about the performance? This laptop comes with an Intel Core i7-11800H with an RTX 3050 Ti laptop GPU, 16 gigs of RAM and also 512 gigs of NVMe SSD. On paper, this laptop sounds rather powerful and for the most part, it is. I used it to edit videos on Premiere Pro and the performance is pretty good overall, though when it comes to games, there are some problems here and there. I tried a total of 2 games and I found out that the word 3K resolution here is mostly causing the problem because some games just behave strangely, like Control was one of them that doesn't even have this resolution on the settings menu. So I played the game at its lowest preset and it ran fine for a while, but the VRAM seems to be completely in use. So expect some major lag spikes when it comes to Control. When you are entering a different scene with a lot of stuff that it needs to load into the VRAM, then you will experience lag. I also turned on DLSS and that doesn't seem to fix anything when it comes to Control, the game. So yeah, I'm not too sure what is going on and I would suggest you to lower the resolution in the game itself. And then I also tried Halo Infinite, which ran about 40 to 45 FPS. I think that's a pretty playable frame rate, and I should also mention that I am using this laptop in the Ultra Performance mode. The settings menu to change between what power mode that you want is hidden deeply within Dell's software, and I suggest you to leave it on Ultra Performance all the time because you can get more performance out of it, and the fan noise is also less distracting because it's constantly on high RPM. If you want to use it in the optimized power mode, then the fan keeps ramping up and down, which I think is distracting. In any case, all of the hardware are enclosed in this beautiful laptop design with chamfered edges, and it's just very nice to look at overall. Even the exhaust grills are circular in shape. And let's not forget about the magnificent color of this laptop. Dell calls it the mist blue color, and I love this hue of blue as it is slightly greenish and also very dark at the same time. The screws at the bottom of this laptop are also painted with the same mist blue color. And while we are on that, let's yank out the bottom plate and look at what's inside this laptop. When I first lay my eyes on the insides, I can see that the Dell Inspiron 16 Plus does have 2 NVMe SSD slots and also 2 SODIMM RAM slots that we can access. The RAM slots are pretty standard and I have no idea why they're covered with this big piece of whatever it is. So I just peel off from the bottom instead and it reveals the 2 sodium RAM slots that we can access as we mentioned earlier. Each of these RAM are actually 8 gigs of DDR4 3200MHz sticks. As for the SSD though, I was perplexed when I saw that the second SSD slot was very short. I opened it up to confirm my suspicion and I was right, they're using the M.2 2230 SSD instead. It's shorter than the usual M.2 2280 SSDs that we usually use in our desktops or other laptops. And then I also proceeded to open the main SSD slot to see what's inside. To my surprise, it's actually another M.2 2230 SSD. But that main SSD slot actually supports up to 2280. I guess what Dell expects us to do is to buy another M.2 2280 SSD to replace the main drive. So the secondary drive, which is the M.2 2230, will move to the secondary slot instead, which I think is pretty smart of them, but also kind of limits in terms of what kind of hardware you want to upgrade in the future. I personally believe that the engineers in Dell can move the components around and make space for double M.2 2280 slots instead of one 2230 and one 2280. It is also here that we can see that this laptop comes with an 86 watt-hour battery, and the battery life coming out of this laptop is not exactly the best. It can last for about 4 to 5 hours at most, and I think that is most probably due to that high resolution screen, that 3K screen. And lastly, after closing up everything, we have to talk about the ports, because this laptop comes with a generous amount of ports and it can also be charged via the Thunderbolt 4 port on the left side too. However, I'm not a fan of the position of all of the ports on this right side because it is on the way of the mouse. So let's just say if I got this external mouse plugged into this laptop, then yeah, the ports, you see, will get in the way. And that's all we have to share with you about the Dell Inspiron 16 Plus. It's a fairly good laptop overall, but for the price of 6,199 ringgit, I think it's a bit more premium in terms of price compared to other similarly spec'd laptops. However, like any other Dell product, some can argue that the warranty service that Dell offers is worth the extra price that we have to pay. And to that, I kinda agree because I've heard a lot of good stories when it comes to Dell's warranty services. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, do leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.